Recording. Okay. So this is, I told you already, this is a continuation of what we discussed in the last class. We were discussing the early Tudor period. We have finished the Greco-Roman period, and then the Old English period, the Middle English period, and Chaucer and Canterbury Tales. All these we have dealt everything in detail, and if you're interested, definitely the links will be shared to you. And then we are now with the Tudor period, early Tudor period. Okay, the 15th century is almost over. Like we are at the end of the 15th century and the beginning of the 16th century. That is what the early Tudor period is. Okay, and what is Tudor dynasty? Who established Tudor dynasty? It was Henry VI who established, and all these details are discussed in our previous classes. So I'm extremely sorry because I cannot repeat it in the present class, but once you got an opportunity to listen to the previous classes, definitely you will get a flow. Okay, today you just see whether the class and the format and everything is compatible for you. So yeah, we have already discussed all these things because what are the like main features or the main happenings of this particular period: the fall of Constantinople, the reason for Renaissance, early Renaissance, and the second wave of Renaissance humanism. And we have already discussed the features of Renaissance humanism. Okay, and these are the major people who contributed greatly to Renaissance humanism. Then concerns of humanism, Renaissance in England, all these are already we have discussed. Okay, and now we will be discussing the Renaissance literary conventions or the Renaissance literature. What are the major literary conventions in England? Okay, because we will always be focusing on, as we are dealing with British literature, we'll be focusing on, British Renaissance. So we have already given the background of Renaissance also, like the significance of Italy and other countries in the context of Renaissance. All these are already discussed. And early Renaissance literature, let us discuss, because this is a combination of classical and romantic tendencies. Why classical? We know, right? Because after the fall of Constantinople, all these Greek, Roman literature, classical literature spread all over the world. And so the people were so much of interest was shown on this classical literature, and they considered it as a base. So a combination of, because during the medieval period, we have already discussed this kind of romantic elements was also there. So a combination of classical and romantic literature can be seen in the literary works of this particular period. So many classical influences, Greek and Latin influences, romantic tendencies, then, spirit of adventure, revolt against the past, freshness of the present, a fresh spirit is there because Reformation, Renaissance, so many new ideas are on. Okay, so many new developments, intellectual developments, spiritual developments, so many developments are on. So everyone is like feeling very fresh. So the major literary conventions are, here you can see some. One is, of course, Petrarchanism. Petrarchanism, of course, emerged from the name of Petrarch, the Italian Petrarch, the father of Renaissance humanism. Okay, we have already discussed Petrarch and his sonnets. So, Preeti, you don't worry if you can't connect with this kinds of idea, Divya Bharati too, because we have, this is a continuation, okay, of what we have discussed earlier. So you just see whether you can connect with me and whether you can follow me properly. In that case, if you listen to the previous videos, then definitely there won't be any issues, okay? Yeah. So Petrarchanism is a... Okay, ma'am. Yeah, okay. Petrarchanism is a tradition of authentic lyrical expression modeled on the sonnets of the Italian poet Petrarch. It's based on Petrarch and his sonnet culture. Okay. Then, of course, we have Petrarchan sonnets. Petrarchan sonnets, its origin is in Italy. It was Petrarch who initiated this particular genre, that is Petrarchan sonnet. But still, we had it in England also. We had Petrarchan sonnets. What is Petrarchan sonnet? Already we have discussed that too. One octave and a sestet with a caesura. Usually sonnet, you may be familiar with a sonnet. Sonnet will be how many lines? 14 lines. Okay, a 14-line lyric poem is called a sonnet. So in Petrarchan sonnet, you can see an octave and a sestet. Octave means 8 lines. 8 lines together. And then 6 lines, that is sestet. So 8 plus 6, 14 lines. That is what Petrarchan sonnet is. Like you may be sometimes confused with what is the difference between Petrarchan sonnet, English sonnet, Spenserian sonnet, Shakespearean sonnet. There are so many sonnets, so many types of sonnets available. So what is the exact difference between all these sonnets? That's very important. So this is the major difference. Whichever the sonnet be, the line number, okay, line number will be 14. There will be 14 lines in a sonnet. But in Petrarchan sonnet, you can see an octave and a sestet. Octave means 8 lines and sestet means 6 lines, okay, 8 plus 6 combination. And coming to the English sonnet, here you can see English sonnet. In English sonnet, you can see 3 quatrains and a couplet. Quatrain, like quarter. How many lines will be there in a quatrain? 4 lines. So 3 quatrains, 4 plus 4 plus 4. So 12. Then a couplet. Couplet means 2 lines. 2 ending lines, that is couplet. So 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 2. Again, 14 lines. Okay, so this is what actually the combination of English sonnet. In Petrarchan sonnet, it is an octave plus a sestet, 8 plus 6. And here in English sonnet, it is 3 quatrains and 1 couplet. Okay, and then again another sonnet is there, that is Spenserian sonnet. What is the difference between Spenser? This is actually a variation initiated by Edmund Spenser. You may be familiar with Edmund Spenser. He is one of the popular figures in the history of British literature. And Edmund Spenser's variation of the sonnet is called Spenserian sonnet. Actually, there is no much difference, but just in the difference is just in the variation of this rhyme scheme, this A, B, C, D, E, F, G, G. Likewise, it goes. But in Spenserian sonnet, it is like A, B, C, D, E. Okay, that is the difference. So it is just in the rhyme scheme, not in the line or the like proportion or something like that. It is not like that. It is same with the English sonnet. That is 3 quatrains and a couplet, but the rhyme scheme varies. That is the difference. And then what is the Shakespearean sonnet? That is another name for English sonnet, because you know that Shakespeare was a popular figure who contributed greatly to English sonnets. Okay, so he has written a number of sonnets which are so popular. And when we think of a sonnet, naturally, the first sonnet that comes to our mind is like most probably it's of Shakespeare. Though we have so much of another, sonnets, that will be the most popular and the first sonnet to occupy our thoughts. Okay. So that's why Shakespearean sonnet or English sonnet, they are the same. So these are the major literary conventions that you can see in the Tudor period and even after that. And another thing is like also you can see pastorals and epic after this period. It's not exclusively for this particular age. But after this age, you can see so much of pastoral poems. Pastoral poem means pastoral poems are set in the countryside, and which is very ideal, very beautiful, very unspoiled. Okay, that's kind of like shepherds. Most probably in pastoral poems, shepherds will be the main protagonists, okay, a main character. And the shepherds will also be poets, and they'll be singing songs. They'll be like wandering with the sheep, and then in a meadow, in a very lovely place, very naturally beautiful place, they'll be sitting, and they'll be commemorating something, they'll be commenting on something, or they'll be mourning at something. So things like that, that is what called pastoral poems, okay. And actually, this Virgil, Roman classic poet, Virgil's Eclogues is a pastoral collection. We have already discussed Virgil and his Eclogues. And this is a pastoral collection. And all these kinds of works had its influence on this kind of works. Then epic also. Epic was also got popular during after this period. Spenser's Fairy Queen. We know that we had the epic from Odyssey, Iliad. Okay, Homer had all these epics, and during the classical period, we had all these epics. And after that, we got a major epic. And first of all, if somebody asks an English literature student, okay, name an epic, then definitely the people will be saying Paradise Lost or Paradise Regained, right? These are the most popular epics that we are familiar with. But after this classical period, you know, Spenser's Fairy Queen was the most popular and the most established epic after this classical period. Then again, of course, Milton's Paradise Lost, then Marlowe's Hero and Leander. So we have so many other epics also. So that is also something important. Then comes, yeah, we'll just discuss three or four popular figures during this time, because they were actually, we cannot place them in the Elizabethan period. Actually, this time period, no, we cannot divide it as such. We will usually say like, okay, 15th century, 16th century, 17th century. For the sake of our convenience, we usually say so. But sometimes it is difficult to place certain writers to certain period, because they have different characteristic features. They maybe belong to different centuries, at the end of a century and at the beginning of a century. Even Shakespeare is like that. So there are some difficulties, but still we can just, when we are covering a period, we can just go with the important figures also. So John Skelton is such a figure whose lifespan, sorry, I forgot to include the lifespan extends from 1460 to 1529. Okay, 1460, 1460 to 1529, 1529. He was an informal poet laureate and an academic. Okay, informal poet laureate means during that time there was not a position called poet laureate, but he was very influential. That's why informal poet laureate. And he was a tutor to Henry VIII. Now you can understand his nobility or his significance during that time. Henry VIII was later the King of England, and this particular person, John Skelton, was the tutor to Henry VIII. And this Skeltonic verse, you know, Skeltonic verse is very important. This is something that initiated by John Skelton. This is an irregular, energetic, and satirical poetry. Okay, irregular, energetic, and satirical poetry. Linguistics and metrical innovations, like in a poetry, like the meters and everything should be in proper way, and the linguistics, the language, the diction and everything should be in a different way, something like that. The meter and all, the focus is on the meter and all. And then very energetic and satirical. Okay, those are the features. So this kind of a work or a variation initiated by John Skelton is called Skeltonic verse. So sometimes if you come up with if you are like encountered with a question like, okay, Skeltonic verse is initiated by whom, then definitely you can connect it with the name of that person, that is John Skelton. Actually, many of his poems lost. We don't know how many poems he has written, which were the poems, we don't know. Only some poems are retained. And the one such a collection is, or such poem is, the book of Philip Sparrow. Okay, the book of Philip Sparrow, 1505. Actually, this is a poem in which Jane Scroop, okay, Jane Scroop is a school girl. I'm just explaining what the content is, okay? You can just listen to that, and if possible, you can retain it in your memory. That's it. It's not that very important. Jane Scroop is a school girl. She compares her love for the dead sparrow. There was a sparrow, and that sparrow is dead. Okay, and she compares her love for this dead sparrow with other kinds of love, different types of love, different kinds of love, and her love for this dead sparrow is compared with other types of love. That is actually the theme of this particular poem. And then another poem, Calling Cloud. This Calling Cloud is important in another way, because this is actually, this character, Calling Cloud is a character, it's a character's name. This character represents an average countryman, not an aristocratic person, not a clergy person, a very common man, and who gives his opinions on the state of the church. What is the condition of the church? Okay, and his opinions on the state of the church. So such a character is Colin Clout, and that is the title of the poem by John Skelton. Actually, why this poem has another significance is like the name Colin Cloud, this particular name was later used by Spenser. Edmund Spenser, in one of his poems, he has used the same name, Colin Cloud, and that particular name is taken from John Skelton's poem, Colin Cloud. So again, you can frame, when I'm giving you such informations, you can frame some questions like who actually Spenser got this particular name Colin Cloud from whom or from which poem. Then again, the poem's name is itself Colin Cloud, and the poet is John Skelton. Okay, yeah. Then another important figure during this time, you must have heard this name, I guess, Sir Thomas More and his Utopia. Okay, Utopia is a famous work by Sir Thomas More, and these names are very popular, very important. And if you are like even whether it is net exam, whether it is an exam for a PG entrance, whatever it is, you can expect maybe at least one question from this particular work or this particular person. Sir Thomas More, he's a humanist, courtier, and Lord Chancellor to King Henry VIII. Okay, and actually he got beheaded in 1535 for refusing to give up the authority of the Pope. Okay, during that time, everyone will be getting trialed and then execution, okay, assassination, all these things are very popular during this time. He also got beheaded in 1535 because he was assigned with some authorities and he was not ready to give up the authority of the Pope. So that's why he got trialed and he got beheaded. And Utopia is a work which was published in 1516. Actually, you have to remember something. This work originally written in Latin. Okay, originally written in Latin. And this Latin work's publication year is 1516. And again, this work got translated into English in 1551. Okay, 1551. The information is given here. Originally, it is written in Latin in 1516 and translated by whom? Ralph Robinson. Ralph Robinson is the person who translated Thomas More's Utopia into English in 1551. Actually, both these years are very important. 1516 Latin publication and 1551 English publication. Okay, both these are important. Utopia, the principal literary work of Thomas More. Of course, this is the major work by him. This is an essay in two books, two parts, okay, two books. Originally, I told you, written in Latin and then translated by Ralph Robinson into English. Actually, this is influenced by the travelogues such as that by Amerigo Vespucci, printed in 1507. I told you, like when we were discussing in the previous class, this was a period, 15th century is a period of exploration. So many people explored so many places. So why we are studying the historical background in the case of literary history? Because all the historical details are connected with the literature of that particular period. So if you are familiar with the history of that period, then definitely you can connect it with the present context. Then this book this particular work opens with a historical event, and I told you this particular book is in this particular work is in two books or two parts. Okay, and the first book describes the oppressive injustices of England. The oppressive injustices of England as described in the first book. And the second book contrasts England with utopia. That is the nowhere land. Utopia means nowhere land. We can't find any such. Usually by the word utopia, we mean the ideal state. Now we know that we are living in a country or a state or a place where we have lots and lots of corruption, lots and lots of injustices, cruelty, violence, all these are there. Okay, lack of compassion, everything is there. So Thomas More was anticipating a country or a place which is called utopia, where everything is perfect. Okay, everything is perfect. So that was actually, he was making some satirical comments on England during that time, and England's corruption, the oppressive injustices of England, all these things. So the first book describes the oppressive injustices of England, and the second book contrasts England with utopia. England is like this. In the first book, it is all written, all the cruelties of England, and in the second part of that book, utopia, how utopia is, how wonderful utopia is. So actually, through the second book, through the utopia, he is giving an example, okay, or a model for England. And you can see like yeah, actually nowhere land described by the protagonist Raphael Raphael Hythelode is the protagonist of this work, and he's making a comparison between these two, England and utopia. Okay, and then in utopia, there is complete individual freedom in social and religious spheres. Everywhere, whether it is religious sphere, whether it is social, whether it is cultural, whether it is economic, everywhere complete freedom. I'll just give you a glance of this utopia. It is not mentioned here in the PPT, but you can just listen to me. Actually, in utopia, you can see two types of people. They are elected representatives, okay, like a democratic system, and people are electing people, and they are called suffragans and tribunals. Okay, these are the two categories, and above them the prince also will be there. And what is the significance of this particular country? There is no tyranny. Okay, there is no tyranny. No one is ruling anyone here, and no privacy or private ownership. I told you that in the context of England, you can see most of the land were occupied by a particular people, and the rest of the peasants, they just have to work, they just have to continuously work, and they will get very meager income. With that, they have to be satisfied, and also from this meager income, the clergy people, the church people, they'll be grabbing all these income from them. So many issues were there. But this particular place, there is no privacy, there is no private land. All the lands are for everyone. Okay. Goods are stored in warehouses, and there are no locks, no doors, nothing. If I want something, I can go and get it. If the other person wants something, the other person can go and get it. Okay, no problem. No one will be like controlling you. No one will be restricting you, things like that. And everyone lives in a countryside and does agriculture. Usually he's saying like, why we are grabbing others' items? Because when there is a concept like private, okay, I want to make everything private. I want to, like, I have seen something, oh, that's very nice, I have to get it of my own. Okay, I will get an idea. But this is a place where nothing is private. Okay, everything is public. In that case, okay, I can get it whatever I want. That's it. I will not be longing for any private earnings or things like that. And women do the same work as men. In utopia, women do the same work, equal pay, everything is no division of work, no sexism, nothing. And every person learns a trade. That is also very important. No one can be lazy. No one can be a deceiving person, a cheating person. Everyone has to learn a trade and everyone has to work. Everyone has to gain something. Then every house has two slaves. Okay, and who is the slave? Then you will be wondering, why in such a place, why slaves? Actually, these slaves are from other countries or they are criminals. So we should not do any criminal activity. If you are a criminal or if you have any such criminal instincts, then definitely you will be a slave. Okay, that is the moral code for them. Then gold is used to chain the criminals. You have this cuff to chain the criminals, and gold is used for that, so that the people will also, we won't feel any kind of attraction towards a metal which is used to make the cuffs and all. Okay, that is something restricting or something very mean or something like that. So we won't be interested to, we won't be like much interested to show any kind of attraction towards that. So gold was used for that, so that people will not attracted towards this gold. Then, divorce permitted during this time, and premarital sex and adultery was punished. If you're not satisfied with a person in your life, then you can get divorced. But premarital sex and adultery was not permitted. Then households take turns to feed the population in community dining halls. Everyone will be giving food to others. Okay, so many things. So this kind of a setup is, visioned by Thomas More in Utopia. So during that time, actually, this is a work which has much connection to the historical context of England and how England was and how Utopia is different from England. This is what actually shown through this particular work. Okay, so Thomas More and his Utopia, please do remember the what to say, yes, okay, 1516 and again 1551, and who was the translator? Ralph Robinson was the translator. Then we have two more people to discuss in this particular context. They are Thomas Wyatt and Earl of Surrey. Wyatt and Surrey, you must be familiar with these two names because they are the people who founded English Renaissance poetry. They are the people who actually made wide popularity to English sonnets. Okay, they popularized the sonnets in English. And I told you, they gave the foundation to English Renaissance poetry. They had actually very diplomatic missions abroad. Okay, Wyatt and this, especially Sir Thomas Wyatt, his lifespan extends from 1503 to 1542. Very diplomatic missions abroad, and he visited Italy. You can imagine what happened after visiting Italy. Definitely this Petrarchan, effects will be there on Wyatt after making a visit to Italy. Of course, influence of Petrarch, okay, and the 14th century Italian master of the sonnet of idealized love. So they also got very much interested in this particular genre, and they wanted to apply it in the English context also, and introduced terza rima of Dante and ottava rima. Actually, terza rima, ottava rima, all these are some techniques in writing poems. Like terza rima is like 3 lines will be there, 3 lines, 3 lines, 3 lines set. Okay, and the last word of the second line will fix the rhyme of the rest of the 3 line groups. So in first 3 lines, second line, last word. If the last word is like house, or something like that. Then again, the next group, the second group of three, lines, in that also the final words will be like rhyming with this house, mouse, or something like that. Okay. So it goes like that. Actually, our session is for 40 minutes. A single session extends for 40 minutes and it will be ending within 1 minute. And you can use the same link and just join again. Okay, once it is completed, once it is over, it will end automatically. And once it is over, just use the same link with which you entered now, you joined now, and we'll be continuing. Okay, now itself we'll be continuing. So yeah, I think we can continue like that. And see, White also introduced the Horatian. Okay, we'll be continuing. So White introduced the Horatian satire into English. Horace was like a classical writer, Roman writer, and his satire was very famous. And that Horatian style of satire was introduced into English by White. So maybe you can expect another question like, who introduced Horatian satire into English? That is Thomas White. He not only introduced the sonnet, not only popularized the sonnet, but he introduced the Horatian satire also. Then he wrote 7 penitential psalms. Psalms are actually religious poems, okay? Religious hymns and all those things. And mostly penitential. Penitential means something related to repentance. Okay, we have done some mistakes, so are we repenting for that? Something like that. Then none of his poems were published in his lifetime. See, that's really interesting. Actually, he has written so many poems, but none of his poems were published in his lifetime. Actually, we are just confused whether it is 96 or 97, because when it got published in the content session, it was 96, and in the inner content, it was 97. So we exactly don't know how many poems, but 96 or 97 poems posthumously published in Total's Miscellany. Total's Miscellany is something very important. It's an anthology. It's a collection in which so many, poems are included of that particular time. We will discuss Total's Miscellany also. So 96 or 97, we don't know exactly. He imprisoned in the Tower of London for allegedly committing adultery with Anne Boleyn. Who is Anne Boleyn? Hope you remember, Shakti. Anne Boleyn was actually the second wife of Henry VIII. Actually, it was for Anne Boleyn. Henry VIII fought with the episcopacy, with the church, with the clergy people, and they had lots and lots of issues because he demanded a divorce from this his first wife, Catherine of Aragon, and he wanted to marry Anne Boleyn. So she was actually the wife of Henry VIII. She was a queen, and she is the mother of Queen Elizabeth. That is also very important. After this period, Elizabethan period is coming, and Queen Elizabeth's mother is Anne Boleyn, but there was an allegation against her that she had committed adultery with this particular person, Thomas White, and White was imprisoned. Okay, he was imprisoned in the Tower of London, and Anne Boleyn, she was executed. She was beheaded. She was executed while White was in prison. And he wrote a poem expressing grief and shock. Oh my God, she got beheaded. It was a shock for Thomas White, and he wrote some poems on that shock also. Okay, and he died of illness at the age of 39. During that time, you can imagine if an adultery or something happens, it is rather a mistake of the woman rather than the man. It was considered like that. So the woman who is involved in this particular adultery, she will easily get beheaded. There won't be much trials and all those things. Whoever she is, whether she's a queen, whether she is a maid, whatever she is, the plight is almost the same. But this person, he was imprisoned. Okay, he was imprisoned, but he was not beheaded. But he died of illness at the age of 39. Okay, so yeah. Now we can see White and the Petrarchan sonnet. You can see like he was a person who was much influenced by Petrarch because he made a visit to Italy and influenced by Petrarch, and he translated and imitated Petrarch's sonnets in English. Petrarch wrote it in Petrarch was in Italy, and those were Italian sonnets. And then White actually got influenced, and he translated and also imitated the style of Petrarch and wrote some sonnets in English and introduced the personal note in English literature. Till then, like we have seen during the medieval times, there are certain topics about which people wrote. But this is White is the person who introduced the personal note in English literature, our own emotions, our own thoughts, something like that. And he introduced the Petrarchan conceit. What is this Petrarchan conceit? Do you have any idea? Actually, Petrarchan conceit is kind of a woman's body parts are describing. Okay, like it's a blazon or praising of a woman's body part. Oh, how beautiful her eyes are. Eyes may be compared to something else, and then her, once again. Yeah, eyes may be compared to something else. Her nose may be compared to something else. Lips may be compared to so likewise, it's a blazon or praising of the woman's body part by part. And finally, her praising of the mind will also be there. Mind of the woman will also be there. In Amority and all, you can see such appraisals. Then actually Shakespeare made a satirical expression on this particular conceit, that is Petrarchan conceit, and he has a popular sonnet, that is sonnet number 130, in which he usually say like which is titled "My mistress' eyes are nothing like the sun." My mistress' eyes are nothing like the sun. In that, he is comparing the mistress' hair to the wire. Okay, very wire, and eyes to the sun, something like that. That was actually a satirical expression to this kind of a Petrarchan conceit. So White was the person who introduced, actually this was done by Petrarch in Italian sonnet, in Petrarchan sonnet, but White was the person who introduced this Petrarchan conceit into English sonnets. Artificial love theme, lamenting the unkindness of ladies who were probably never existed. He's not mentioning any particular lady who is existing, but some imaginative ladies who are not at all kind-hearted, who are very adamant, who are very arrogant, something like that. And then the Petrarchan conventions in English. Let's see the Petrarchan conventions. What are the influence, or what are the important features or the conventions of Petrarchan sonnets that we brought into English sonnet? That is what we are going to discuss now. The sonnet sequences. First of all, the sonnet sequences. Actually, a narrative or a story was developed over a series of sonnets. It will be a single story. And we know that in a sonnet, it will be like only 14 lines. Okay, by 14 lines, we have to finish a sonnet. So sometimes it is not that easy to tell a story through a sonnet. So one sonnet will be there telling the first part of the story, another sonnet, another part of the story, another sonnet, connecting. So this is like a sonnet sequence. There will be, in a sonnet sequence, there can be more number of sonnets, okay? And all these sonnets combining together, we will get a complete story. So this kind of a convention, usually in a sonnet, we will be having a single theme, or a single idea will be presented with the sonnet. Sonnet is a style, right? In 14 lines, you have to write something, that's a style. But the sonnet sequence is a Petrarchan convention, which is also introduced into English or England, in which you can see the whole story is told by different sonnets. And then you can see the idealized portraits of a womanhood as chaste and unattainable. Of course, that is there. Okay, a stereotypical notion of womanhood. Women are like chastity is given much important. Women should be virgins. Okay, women should be virgins. They should keep their chastity. If they are married, they should be loyal to their husbands and all those things. And the good women are unattainable. If a person is wooing a woman, if a person is like making some romantic interventions into a woman's life, you know, that person, this lady or this woman is unattainable for that particular person. This kind of an idea was actually developed or projected in the sonnets, English sonnets. Okay, so that is the second end. And then love and loss of love. These are the major themes that we had in Petrarchan sonnets, and the same is actually introduced into English also, love and loss of love. Then sexual love treated as a form of religion also. In Donne and all, John Donne, the metaphysical poet, maybe you are familiar with John Donne, you can see like the sexual love or the physical love is sometimes connected to this religious, spiritual things and all. That is a weird combination. But you can see such connections and combinations. So such sexual love was treated as a form of religion, just like in dance. That is not D-A-N-N-E, that is D-O-N-N-E. Okay, this is Donne, John Donne, not Dane. Sorry for the mistake. And so that is also there. So this kind of Petrarchan convention. So all these are Petrarchan conventions. Petrarch introduced all these things in Italian sonnets, and these kinds of ideas were introduced into English sonnets by this particular people, especially White. And then next person who is very much influential in the context of sonnet as well as during this particular period is Henry Howard, or the Earl of Surrey. Okay, Surrey is a place and he was the Earl is a position, and he is known as the Earl of Surrey, and his original name is Henry Howard. And his lifespan extends from 1517 to 1547. Okay, so he is 14 years younger than White. They are not actually exact contemporaries. White, of course, they lived in the same period, but still, Henry Howard, or Earl of Surrey, is actually 14 years younger to White. Actually, he is a poetic disciple of White, just like our Plato is a disciple to Socrates, Aristotle is a disciple to Plato, okay, Alexander the Great is a disciple to Aristotle. So just like that, White is a disciple to, Surrey, Earl of Surrey is the disciple to White. And again, he also got executed on charge of treason when barely 30. Okay, Wyatt, at least he lived till the age of 39. But this person, he got beheaded at the age of 30 for treason. Okay, and then you can see he educated in English and French courts. Okay, he was an educated person. And like Wyatt, he was sensitive to changing literary fashions. Actually, what is so important about Wyatt and Surrey are they are flowing with the current. Yeah, if some changes in the literary field, okay, let's move with the change. Let us also go with the change. This was their notion. Okay, so this person also, Surrey was also just like Wyatt, just like his master. He was also interested in experimenting new things and all. Okay, so he was also sensitive to the changing literary fashions. And he introduced blank verse from the Italian to English poetry in his translation to Aeneid. Okay, Aeneid, book 2 and book 4 of Aeneid, who is the which is the epic poem. Okay, Aeneid is an epic poem. We have already discussed Aeneid. It's a classical work. So this Aeneid, not the full part of Aeneid, but book 2 and book 4 of Aeneid were translated by Henry Howard, Earl of Surrey. And in this translation, he introduced this blank verse. Okay, blank verse was introduced. Then what to say, Surrey and his sonnets. Let's see. Okay, developed the English sonnet, of course. Just like White, he also developed the English sonnet. And and has less strength and more polish than White. Actually, when we are making a comparison between White and Surrey, who is the most popular figure? In that case, we can say it is White. White had the most poetic potential than Surrey. But what was Surrey's strength is that he was a craftsman. See, he was a craftsman. He was a person who carved the poetry into a good shape, good structure. Content-wise, Pata, like it's White. Okay, White was the best one, and he was the superior one. But அந்த ஒரு form, structure, அதெல்லாம் like நம்ம பார்த்துட்டோம்னா like Surrey, okay, or Henry Howard is the comparatively better one. So we usually say White is the greater poet and Surrey is the greater craftsman. Actually, both are important. Content as well as the form, both are important, and these two people are good at either of these. Then though Surrey's sonnets are less in number, they have a broader range. Okay, like a broader range of themes, including appreciation of external nature. So much of themes was included in Surrey's poems. The only name to appear on the cover page of Tudor's Miscellany. Actually, Tudor's Miscellany was a popular anthology, popular collection during that time. And the Tudor's Miscellany included so many poems by different people. Okay, different people. But only Surrey's name was Henry Howard, the Earl of Surrey. This particular name was engraved on the cover page of Tudor's Miscellany. No White, no other writers, no one was there. No one's name was there, but only Henry Howard's name. So that is also very important. Sometimes you may given a question like which poet's name was appeared on the cover page of Tudor's Miscellany. In that case, it is Surrey, Earl of Surrey, Henry Howard. And for a long time, we were telling this Tudor's Miscellany, it's a collection, it's an anthology. What is this? Actually, the original title of this particular work is Songs and Sonnets. It was published on 5th June 1557. Okay, the first edition. The first edition was published on 5th June 1557, 16th century, 1557. And this first edition included 271 poems of different poets, not a single person. It's a collection, it's an anthology, and 271 poems were included in this particular collection. Okay, then one second. Voice not reaching. Oh, is that a problem? Shakti, is that the same with you? Divya Bharati is saying my voice is breaking.
No, Mom, it's clear for me.
Okay, then Divya, please check with your connection. Please check your connection, ma. Like maybe it's an internet issue or something like that. And don't worry, if you cannot listen to any particular part, we will be sending you the link, okay? The audio link, it will be like it is being recorded and we'll be sending you the link, and please try to rejoin if it continues, okay? Yeah. So this Tudor's Miscellany is the first anthology to be published in English. This is also important. That is what the importance of Total's Miscellany. The first anthology of poems published in English is Total's Miscellany. And Total's Miscellany's original title is Songs and Sonnets. Okay, Songs and Sonnets. This is like you can see why this is Total's Miscellany. Actually, the person's name is Richard Total. That is why Total's Miscellany. Richard Total is the person who compiled all these poems and made this anthology. Okay, Richard Total, and that is why Total order. Okay, Total's Miscellany. This book is known in that way. Actually, this book is popular in this name, though its original title is Songs and Sonnets. It is like famous for this particular name, Total's Miscellany, and his name is Richard Total. And this book actually established the Petrarchan sonnet form, because this book was full of, like, most of the content was sonnets. So it established in the English scenario, it established the sonnet genre and bears the cultural impact of English Reformation. So the contents will be like related to Reformation, Renaissance, all these things. So it was actually a very contributive content that this particular anthology had. Poems have references to both Catholicism and Protestantism. Catholicism was actually replaced by Protestantism. That is what actually Reformation. We have discussed it, how Reformation happened, and which are the important factors that helped to come up with this Reformation. All these things we have already discussed. And this particular works, the sonnets and songs of Total's Miscellany, were addressing both Catholicism and Protestantism. So you can see the change, the effects of the Reformation, everything with the poems of this particular work. And I have already told you, only one poet is mentioned in the title page, that is the Right Honorable Henry Howard, Earl of Surrey. This is how it is written. Okay, in the front page, in the cover page, it is written like the Right Honorable Henry Howard, Earl of Surrey. This is what actually written. Actually, so many poems were there. We can see which are the other poems. So many other poems also got included. See, you can see these are the contents of Total's Miscellany. This is for your information, and if possible, you can try, recalling it sometimes. Total number of the poems we have already discussed, like 271, the first edition. Okay, first edition, 1557 edition, 271 poems. And you can see 36 poems by Surrey. From the beginning, you can see like 36 poems of Surrey, 91 poems of White, 91 points of White, and actually the content page, however, says 90. This is the difference. Earlier I told you, no, whether White has written 96 or 97, we don't know, because first it says like 90, content page says 90, but inside the book you can see 91. And then again 40 poems by Nicolas Grimald, another poet during that time. Nicolas Grimald wrote 40 poems. 4 more poems by Surrey. Why it is not written together is like 36 poems by Surrey. Again, you can see 91 poems by White. Again, 40 poems. So this is written in that order. That's why. Okay. Again, after Nicolas Grimald's poems, you can see 4 more poems by Surrey. Again. So 36 plus 4, total 40 poems by Surrey are included in Total's Miscellany. Then again, see, 6 more poems by White. So the total number is either 96 or 97, because in the content page it already said it is 90, but again 6 more, so 96. But inside, though it says 90, inside the book it was 91. So 91 plus 6, again 97. So we don't know whether it is 96 or 97 exactly. That's a confusing one. The book itself is giving that confusion. So we don't know exactly. Then the remaining are poems by uncertain authors, because we know that that was a period when still the anonymity was continuing. So many people were not exactly able to proclaim their authorship. So we have so many poems which are anonymous in nature. So the remaining are the poems by uncertain authors. Then author later anthology was the Phoenix Next. Actually, the first anthology that we had is Total's Miscellany. And then we had another anthology, later another anthology, that is the Phoenix Nest, that came in 1593. We had the first anthology in 1557. So Total's Miscellany, Richard Total's Miscellany, Songs and Sonnets. It was published in 1557. And this particular work is why important? Because this is the first anthology of poems in English. And then another anthology, a later anthology, was the Phoenix Nest. Okay, Phoenix Nest. So this is all about Total's Miscellany and the contents. And we have some other sonneteers too. Go White and Surrey are the most popular ones. You know, we have already Samuel Daniel. Samuel Daniel's Delia is very important. Okay. See, 50 sonnets are there. 1592 work, 50 sonnets. Samuel Daniel Delia, Henry Constable Diana, Thomas Watson, The Tears of Fancy, then Gills Fletcher, Lysia, then Michael Drayton's Ideas Mirror. If possible, please try to recall the authors as well as their works, because that is something really important. That's why you can sometimes remember these works: Samuel Daniel Delia, Henry Constable Diana, Thomas Watson, The Tears of Fancy, Giles Fletcher, Lycia, and Michael Drayton, Ideas Mirror. Okay, so these are kind of important. So with this, we can actually wind up the early Tudor period. Of course, the Tudor period continues, and after this, there comes who Queen Elizabeth, and the Elizabethan period starts. With this. Year 1558. From 1558 onwards, it was Queen Elizabeth who was ascended through the throne, and she reigned for almost 44 years. Okay, almost 44 years. We have actually already discussed who were the rulers after Henry VIII. His son Richard III was there, and then again Mary I, the Bloody Mary, who opposed the Protestants and all. And after that, so many people changed in between, and then comes Queen Elizabeth, who had a long reign, that is almost 44 years. Till her death, she continued. Okay, so it was like 1558 to 1603, and this is considered the golden period of British literature. Actually, when it is like 15th century, we have already discussed, the later writers were saying this is a barren period. This is a period which doesn't have much literary explorations and all those things. We didn't had much genres, much exposure or something like that. But during the Elizabethan period, England was at like the peak. Okay, like in the case of patriotism, nationalism, everything. Okay, it was like very glorious period during the Elizabethan era, and so the literature also flourished, and we have seen the emergence of drama. 15th century, early 15th century, and during the 15th century, how drama emerged. During the late medieval century, how the drama evolved, the miracle, mystery plays, and all those things. Okay, so we have seen that. So from that, how this drama developed, and what was the significance of drama during the Elizabethan period? Who were the popular figures, and especially William Shakespeare? We'll be discussing. I'm just giving a clue to the next class, because I had a plan of continuing with Shakespeare, but I think within 10 minutes we have to wind up. It is almost time, I guess. So I'm not sure whether we can finish. So I'll just give you an introduction to our next class. So this will be like really interesting. We'll be discussing William Shakespeare in very detail. I'll give you a small gist of almost all his plays so that you can recollect all those things. And what were the influences on that is Elizabethan period and the period's influences on Shakespeare that made him write in different ways. Yeah, it's only 10 minutes. Different ways. So all these things we can discuss, and how the Elizabethan theater was, first of all, it was like some random people, some actors, they were in a group and they were considered vagabonds, they were considered thieves, gypsy people or something like that. Later they got license, okay, license, and they changed into acting troops. Still they are traveling, they don't have a fixed place or something like that. And from acting troops, they are actually maintained into some theaters were established, and they started to recognize or identify themselves to be actors, and they got much popularity during that time because Queen Elizabeth herself was very much interested into this kind of entertainments, drama, and all those things. So she was very much involved to that extent that she sometimes fixes the drama to be enacted on that day. Okay, this can be the drama. Or sometimes she gives instructions to the writers. You have to write this kind of a drama, or you have to write a historical play, or you have to write a romantic tragedy or something like that. Okay, she was that much interested and enthusiastic towards this drama, and that's why we are saying like Elizabethan period is the golden period of drama as a genre. This is the golden period. So we have to discuss the age, Queen Elizabeth and her reign, London during that particular age, because London was the center of England, okay, and in London how it affected and all those things, and the socio-political scenario of London during that time, and how the family was. You can see in many of, if you're familiar with the Shakespearean dramas, you can see in most of the dramas, the fool or the character fool or the servants are very important. Okay, and you can see the combination scenes of the masters and servants and all those people. He didn't just write like that. There are so many reasons for writing in that way, because during the Elizabethan period, the family consisted, of course, father, mother, children, all these family members are there. Along with that, the servants, maids, and all those people, they are also equally important, and they had some kind of influences in the family. Okay, they were also influential in the family. So in that case, it was the family structure that Elizabethan society was having. So you can see the same replica in the theater also, in the drama also. You can see such characters. Some fools will be there to entertain the king, and fools are actually existing. They are original fellows. Queen Elizabeth had so many fools, and sometimes this Queen Elizabeth, she quarrels with, or she scolds the fools to be less critical. Actually, the fools are considered to be satirically critical towards the masters. If the master is doing something wrong, then the fool has to indicate that, because others cannot indicate in that way. The fool are having a particular position, like they are considered like they may be sometimes physically handicapped or mentally having some kind of confusions or something like that. So in that case, they are privileged. They are privileged to say something very openly towards the masters. So Elizabeth and other people were during that time, they were entertaining fools in their courts, and the same can be seen in the works like King Lear, Shakespeare's King Lear and many of his Merry Wives Winter's Tale and all these works, you can see the presence of these kinds of fools. Okay, so this is also like was popular during that time, and this is the reason because fools were originally existing during that time, and Shakespeare was showing us a replica of what the original Elizabethan society was. So many changes. We can connect it with when I explain all these details, when I explain the socio-political scenario, the cultural scenario, the family scenario, I can connect it with some of the plays written by Shakespeare as well as other writers so that you will get an easy connection. Then we'll discuss drama, the features, or Shakespeare specifically, his life, his family, and his career. He was an actor, you know that, right? He started his career as an actor. And then later he converted himself into a writer, okay? An actor to writer. That is what Shakespeare was. And this different types of works that he has written, histories, comedies. Tragicomedies was something that he invented. That is a combination of tragedy and comedy. Then romances. Towards the end of his career, he had romances. Then the great tragedies written by Shakespeare. So many works were there, and all these works are having. Actually, why he wrote so many sonnets? Do you have an idea? He was a dramatist, basically. He was a playwright, right? So why he wrote this much of sonnets? Because that was the time when England was affected with plague. England was affected with plague, and all the theaters were closed, just like we had our lockdown. All the theaters were closed, everything was closed, there was no place, nothing. So during that time, he wanted something because this was actually his earning also. So he wanted something. So during that time, he wrote his sonnets. This is not out of just creativity, but out of the situation also. People during that time wrote different things in different ways. Okay, so we can see all those things and the influences on Shakespeare, and the theaters to which he was affiliated to, all these things. And starting from his first work, Love's Labour's Lost, we can just discuss the gist of all the main works of his particular work and the major critiques on his major works. And all these things will be covered in the next class, that is our Shakespearean class. Okay, so that will be an outline for our next class, as we had some time today to finish, but at the same time we cannot finish it. That's why I was giving you this kind of an introduction to the next session that will be like we'll be having it tomorrow itself. And I hope that was comfortable, Divya. So if you have some suggestions or something like that, you can let me know. Okay, and if you are feel free and comfortable to continue with the classes, please let us know. We can proceed with that. Otherwise, also no problem. So yeah, with that, we can wind up today's session, I guess. So if you have any doubts, just listen to this session once again when you are free. And if you have some doubts or confusions, you can ask me again. And when I am saying something, when I am emphasizing on some points, you can write it, like already I have told this to Shakti, you can write it as a separate question or a paper or some major points or something like that, so that it will be easier for you to make a reference of all these things. And if you are interested to continue, like from the beginning, you have to listen to the videos that we discussed, and you will get a clear idea. Okay, anyway, thank you so much for the patient listening, both of you. Thank you. We'll meet tomorrow.
Thank you, Mom.
Yeah.